Well, hello, and thank you for joining me this evening. Come on in and take a seat, because class is now officially in session. Have you ever wondered what makes a school run efficiently and effectively? Have you ever thought about what is high-quality instruction? Have you ever wondered how do you meet the needs of a diverse range of students inside of a classroom? How is it that teachers receive funding to buy supplies to engage students in real-world and relevant curriculum? What does a principal really do? Have you ever asked yourself, is discipline really fair across the board for students despite their race or their sex? How is it that funding is applied to a school district? And why does it vary from school to school and from district to district? What rules and regulations really guide the work that leaders and teachers do each and every day? Are students and teachers really treated equitably? Do they see themselves as a diverse unit? Is inclusion really a thing that happens in school? Will you have to wonder? No more. This is the place where those questions, those thoughts are answered, because here we provide access to information to teachers, leaders, parents, and all stakeholders who find value in education. My name is Dr. Christopher Holmes, and this is Teacher Talks. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Teacher Talks. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes. This video has been challenging. I have worked so hard many times trying to get this particular video done and edited and up so you guys can see it. But hopefully this is the final edit, and this is going to be the version that you all will see. And then we'll dive right into part 2 of this session this week. So the title of the 4-part series that I'm doing is called What Are the Warning Signs of Failing or of a Failing School? Now, this is a very, very interesting and important topic for me, as my work as a consultant is involved steeply in working with Title I schools, specifically those of minority and underrepresented communities. So I think this is a very relevant topic, especially now as we are dealing with so many schools who are trying to move the needle in the work of school improvement, school turnaround. And so if you're not quite there, you have not been identified as a failing school, you may be on your way to be a failing school and you may not know it. So what I want to do is give you some warning signs so that you can heed these tips and do the work to try to get those scores up, make improvements, build teacher capacity, build leadership capacity, because all aspects of those things I just mentioned are important to drive school improvement as well as driving student achievement. So we're not going to hold the intro very long. We're going to just dive right in because I really am going to give you these tips, and then we're going to do a little bit of interjection. Of course, get in the chat, drop your comments, drop your questions, drop your feedback. We really thrive off the discussions here with our viewers on Teacher Talks. So now this work, again, is a 4-part work. This is part 1, but I am bringing this to you from an article that I found in Teach Thought. If you haven't ever heard of Teach Thought, if you have not gone there, please go to Teach Thought. They have some very interesting articles that I think you guys would really enjoy. If you are an educator or someone who really thrives off being informed about current topics, research issues in education. So, every failing school exhibits warning signs. So the article starts by talking about how the identification of failing schools and accountability really increased after the passing of No Child Left Behind. This really put a lot of pressure and accountability on schools to turn around. So it came with options to either change leadership, change teachers, or really just uproot and get a brand new staff in a building if it had been identified to be failing. So the actions that it takes or the actions that are required for an educator to really drive change is not easy. And No Child Left Behind, which was accompanied most of the time or oftentimes by the School Improvement Grant or SIG, came with stipulations, but those supports in terms of resources and funds only lasted 3 to 5 years. In some situations, depending on your level of consistency with failure, it's going to take more time to turn the school around. So we have to really consider what that looks like. What is the need? How do we address the needs of this particular school? So let's dive in. I am dropping the link here. If you want this particular presentation, simply reach out to me on LinkedIn or on YouTube. Drop a comment for me, and I will make sure that you get this actual slideshow. This is something that you want to share with your teacher, you want to share with your leaders, maybe a conversation that you want to have in your district as you guys are analyzing the schools that you serve. So this article is written by Dr. Stein. He has also written a book called Education Disrupted, and that work was also written by Jessica Stein as well as Alex Stein. So this is a shameless plug. I'm not getting paid for this, but I love for people to be informed. So if you find this particular topic interesting, go over to Teach Thought, read the article, and go over and purchase this book, Education Disrupted by Dr. Stein. So there are 8 warning signs. I'm going to give you all 8, but I'm also going to give you some small tips as well. So let's talk about warning sign number 1. A high turnover of leadership. At least one principal or school principal is newly there in the building every 18 months to 2 years. That's problematic. If you have new leadership in your building and you constantly have a turnover of leaders, how is it that you are going to sustain any type of change when the leadership is inconsistent? And honestly, if we're talking about a new leader, the leader typically feels non-existent. They're really learning the role, trying to navigate the space in the building, trying to adjust to change, trying to adjust to the culture before they dive in and begin to make their own modifications to support student needs and teacher capacity based on their observations and data that's been collected. High turnover rate of leadership is dangerous to student achievement. It oftentimes leads to failure. And oftentimes it leads to failure because of the work that is needing to be done. It's so critical. It's surmounting that leaders decide to go and find work in other environments because it's just too challenging to try to move that needle. And the pressure is on you to move it. So it really takes a turnaround type mindset of a leader to dive in and do that work and not be afraid of the work. All right. This cannot be a leader who is timid. A leader that goes into a low performing school district or low performing school has to be very confident about the work that they're going to do. All right. Number 2, no one appears to be in charge. So again, we're talking about the warning signs associated with failing schools. This particular part is dealing only with administrators or institutional leadership. All right. So when you go into a building where they are failing or they are on the verge of failing, I want you to think about the environment that you're in. Number 1, how long has your leader been there? And I want you to think about the history of the leadership in the building. How consistent has the leadership been in the building? Number 2, does it feel like that there is an adult, that the leader is in charge? Or are the students running the building? Are the teachers running the building? Principals who are real leaders take charge. There is no mistake about who the leader is in the building. All right? Sometimes they're in the building, but where are they? They are in their office, behind closed doors. Ineffective. If they're not behind closed doors doing paperwork or really trying to stay away from the environment itself, they're being pulled out into meetings, into trainings, into all types of things, or they're just not coming to work. So this is going to be a little bit of a tip for districts. If you have a principal that is serving in a failing school, it would behoove you to allow the principal to serve in that building. Pulling a low-performing principal out to be engaged in other tasks that could be communicated via emails or virtual meetings so that they don't have to leave the actual physical building would be in your best interest. That leader needs to be laser focused on driving change, and their presence in the building is critically important. So let them do the work that you've charged them to do, that you're holding them accountable to do, and don't be a barrier. Don't make it about what the district wants. Think about what students need first. And if the students need the leader in the building, find ways to pivot and change and be flexible with how you interact, communicate, and meet with your building level principals. That's just Chris Holmes talking. I've been doing this work for a long time. I've seen where sometimes districts with good intent have been barriers to change because they're uncomfortable or they really want to be in control and they want to continue to dictate how leaders operate. Every school is not the same. Even every school in your district, they have different needs. And so you want to, keyword, differentiate for your schools and differentiate for your leaders and allow the work that they will be engaged in to meet the need of the school, not meet the need of central office, meet the need of the superintendent. The needs of students are way more important than the needs of the adults. The needs of the students outweigh the needs of the adults. Priority, priority, priority is always making it about effective leadership. And you have to support that by supporting the leaders. Let's go to the next one. Number 3, this is the third warning sign associated with administrative or institutional leadership. The school principal does not include members of his or her staff in strategic planning. What does that mean? It means that the leader is out there doing it by themselves. Now, I know there's a song that says sisters are doing it for themselves, brothers are doing it for themselves, but in education, you cannot be out for self. This is work that has to be done together in collaboration. You can't do it alone. The work is too difficult. It's too challenging. It's too overwhelming. You need people bouncing ideas off of you bouncing ideas off of them. You guys need to be coming with coming into agreement with on ideas on what's best, on how we're going to move forward strategically. How do you create a strategic plan by yourself? Now, I'm not saying I haven't seen it done, because I have, but I also see the condition and the environment in which that school or schools actually rest. And they're not moving the needle, have not moved the needle for a very long time. So once you get off of your high horse, leaders, understand that the work is called for you to lead, not be a dictator. Then you will start experiencing greater communication, because your planning will be more aligned to what the data is telling you, not how you're going to be comfortable, how you are going to be uncomfortable. It's not about the work that you know you can do, because when you build a team of people and you start developing strategic plans, you're going to start putting people in place where they can be successful and effective. And when you strategically plan, that is a big component of driving change. How do you monitor, support, and implement all of those pieces by yourself in isolation? You can't. You can't. You have to build the team, but it's important that when you build the team, you put the right people on the team. Sometimes these are not going to be your most favorite teachers. Sometimes these are not going to be your best friends. Sometimes this may not be your veteran teachers. Yeesh. Years of experience does not equal to quality experience. So pulling the right people to do the right work to serve you and those students to drive change is important. When you don't have the right people, that could be a warning sign that you are on your way to being a failing school environment. All right, let's go. Number 4. The school principal has an authoritative style. I just talked about this. You're the dictator. And it says that teachers are afraid to approach you or even talk to you. That's a bully, okay? That's not a principal. That's a bully. That's a dictator. That's someone who is intentionally wanting to be intimidating simply by the title. If your title gives you power, you have no power at all. If the fear of what you can do to someone is your superpower, then you have no power at all. Power comes through relationships, and relationships create actions, and actions change outcomes. That's power. So I really want leaders to think about, how are you using your power to drive change? And it's not through intimidation. It's not through bullying. You have to drive change through relationships, actions, and that's really about building those relationships. Dictating and telling is not how we build teams. It's not how we build agreement. It's not how we come to consensus. I'm not doing it because you said it. I'm doing it because we decided that's what's best. Even if you have people that don't always agree, when you have a team aspect, they're willing to do what the team has decided. And if you don't have people that think like that, then that may be a conversation to help that individual go somewhere else where they can be more successful. All right? But don't lead by intimidation. Don't lead by bullying. Don't lead by titles. Lead by modeling how you collaborate and support teachers and build teams. Okay? Communication is key. You can't communicate if people are upset with you or are bitter with you or are afraid of you. All right? Number 5, the 5th warning sign that you may be or on your way to being a failing school as relate to administrative and institutional leadership. Number 5, the school principal is afraid of confrontation. Now, I said earlier, a leader who is working in a failing school or in a school that is struggling cannot be a timid leader. Good leadership in these type of environments have to be bold and confident, able to make decisions related to issues that are tough issues, that are sometimes controversial issues, but are willing to make the tough decisions. You can't be timid, because change in failing environments is hard work. It's strenuous work, but it's also good work. And so you have to stand boldly on what you believe, what you know is best for students, what your teachers are advocating for, what your parents are screaming and crying for, and what your stakeholders are dying to be a part of. Make tough decisions. And sometimes you're the only one that can make those decisions because others are unaware. They have not seen the full scope of work that needs to be done. And so it is your responsibility to share the vision with them. You want to get buy-in, but sometimes you have to be willing to stand alone and say, if it fails, I'm willing to take accountability for the failure. But this is what I think we need to be doing, and I think this is where I want to take it. And I want you guys to trust me on this issue and do what I ask. See, I went back to relationships, bold principles that aren't timid, aren't intimidating, but respected and trusted. And those who serve under you will be willing to do what you request or ask because they trust you to make wise decisions, even if they're uncomfortable or not sure. But you have to be willing to say, hey, if it doesn't work, it's on me. I'm not casting or sharing the blame with anyone. I take full accountability for this decision. Please have my back in this area. And trust me, most leaders will get the buy-in. Trusted leaders and respected leaders are leaders who are also easily followed. All right, number six warning sign. Here we are. Ineffective teachers are tolerated. Now, this is where I really hang my hat. A strong leader, a strong leader is not afraid to hold ineffective teachers accountable. All right. I'm not going to keep a teacher in my building simply because I'm afraid I may not be able to replace it. Sometimes just having the warm body is not going to serve you if you're working in a failing school. You need individuals who are in the building, teaching, working, doing what is best, supporting change, supporting deep levels of learning for students. Now, states have teacher evaluation systems. Make sure if you are a leader, you are using that evaluation system to help teachers get better. I am not an advocate that these evaluation systems need to be used in a punitive way. The responsibility of leaders to use evaluation systems are to support and to monitor to help teachers grow and get better, not to get rid of teachers. And sometimes weak leaders do just that because they are intimidated by strong teachers and strong personalities. They use that tool to be the bully and to intimidate and to force people or run people out of the building. That is not his purpose. You want to be able to take the ineffective teachers that you have and watch them get better because of your leadership, putting supports in place that help them be more cognizant of where they have deficiencies and where you're going to fill in those instructional practices that basically are seen as gaps, right? They're seen as ineffective. You've got to grow people. You've got to grow teachers. You don't let teachers continue to be ineffective year after year after year after year after year. And then guess what? Sometimes the principal leaves and leaves that teacher for the next leader to deal with. Ineffective, and it's inappropriate, and it's unprofessional. We have to hold teachers accountable, but we also have to support them in their professional growth. Critically important. I could talk more about this. I have seen this oftentimes. And maybe sometimes as you're going through your list of teachers, this particular teacher has not come on your radar, but you are aware. That's okay. You have to prioritize the needs. And so this teacher may be the 5th teacher on the list of those that you need to support. If you are in a small district, you don't have a lot of resources in supporting your building, you can't do it all. So you are strategically developing a plan to support teachers, and that's okay. That is okay. Let's go to number 7. The school principal does not visit classrooms and does not provide constructive feedback to teachers. So we just said ineffective leaders are oftentimes where? They're in their office, okay? You have to come out of the office. You need to be in the building, not simply walking the halls to control traffic. You want to be in the classrooms looking and supporting instruction. You want to know what instruction looks like. You already should have in your mind what quality the instruction looks like. And by monitoring the instruction of teachers, you're going to create a plan as you develop PL in-house, as you provide support and coaching and modeling in-house to support each teacher holistically and each teacher individually, because everyone doesn't have the same needs. So you want to meet teachers just like we meet teachers at their level of readiness. What can they do and what would we like for them to do? And then you build in supports and plans to do that. The second caveat to that is communicate that plan to the teacher. That is where the constructive feedback comes into play. Here's where you are. You do this well. I would like to see you do this or do more of this. And here is my plan to support you in getting this accomplished. In the classroom, monitoring and supporting instruction, providing constructive feedback again to help teachers grow and get better. Therein lies your development, your professional development plan. Job embedded, coaching and modeling. You're not in your office. You're not in your office with the door closed. You're not bullying. You're not intimidating. You're doing the work. If you're not in classrooms, that is a strong indicator that you may be on the way to being a failing school. If you are in a failing environment, get out of your office and get into those classrooms. Be the instructional leader in the building. Even if you're not fully competent and have not taught in a while and you lack some information, you still want to be going in the classrooms, listening and learning. You have to be an integral part of instruction. Students need to see it, and teachers need to know that you're supporting them. All right, number 8. The school principal does not acknowledge or recognize students and teachers who are doing a good job. Now, we've already talked about this. The one thing we know for sure, it is hard work when you work in failing environments. It's hard work. So, as difficult and challenging and frustrating as it is on a daily basis, you need to show up for these students and teachers by honoring their effort and their hard work. And that means you have to have some celebrations. Celebrate small wins. Celebrate growth. You know, if your students take a state assessment, if they take a benchmark or a unit assessment, and let's say they don't pass, there's not a high passing rate, but there is significant growth. Don't you think that is cause for celebration? Most definitely. Take the time to celebrate students and teachers for the work and the effort that they're putting in to create and drive change. You like being celebrated as a leader, right? When you do great work or you see small changes in your building, if your district comes in and they see that the culture is really shifting in a more positive direction, if you're having better interactions with parents, if teachers are coming to work, your turnover teacher rate is not high, it's decreasing, you've got more consistency, I think that's worthy of being recognized and being honored and being celebrated. Same thing with students and teachers. Find ways to celebrate them. And lastly, and this is not here, but this is my addition to the list that Dr. Brown has given in the article. Effective leaders who don't want to continue to be in a failing environment or who may be going down the path of failing, you have to be willing to be engaged in new learning. You've got to be involved in professional development. You've got to get new training. You've got to be abreast on current practices. You yourself have to grow as the leader. What you did 5 years ago may not be effective this time around in this generation of students and teachers. Continue to professionally grow and learn. Seek out conferences, seek out professional development, seek out coaching opportunities, seek out mentors that can help you. Teachers are going to get better. Leaders also have to grow and get better. All right, guys, that's part one, warning signs of failing schools, those that are there or those that are in the pathway of being a failing school. You're going down that hole, you're going in that direction. And so my goal here is to inform you, give you some tips just to get you thinking, right? Just to get you thinking about where you are. And do you exhibit any of these 8 signs that are listed? And then, of course, the 9th one that I just gave. If so, it may be time for a conversation. It may be time for a really hard look at yourself and ask yourself, what do I need to do to grow and get better? Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Teachers Talks. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. for part 2, where we're moving on to looking at teacher leadership. Part 2 of the warning signs associated with being a failing school environment. Thank you guys so much. I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Do you believe in wearing fashions that spread positive messages? Well, Fully Engaged Education now offers merchandise that will do just that. And we are spreading the word that a high-quality education is deserving of every student, everywhere, every day. Fully Engaged Education has now crafted beautifully designed hoodies, sweatshirts, long and short sleeve tees that come in a variety of colors that will be perfect for any season. So go check out Fully Engaged Education and select those beautiful pieces that will be sure to set off any outfit that you plan to wear. Fully Engaged Education is committed to providing information and access to ensure every student can be successful and every student has an opportunity to learn.